Hi, and welcome to lesson 3 of this course. It's called Culture Shock and Re-Entry Shock, or why are all my international students so grouchy all the time? What is their problem? And we'll also be touching on implications this has for iTerm. So what is culture shock? On your PowerPoint program, please advance to the second slide, and you'll see that the term culture shock was coined by a Canadian anthropologist named Kalervo Oberg in the late 1950s. And this man spent a lot of time doing field research in different cultures, especially Alaskan Native culture. And he basically discerned that when Americans or anybody goes to a culture very different from their own, they undergo this experience called culture shock. So since Oberg, there have been many other anthropologists who have defined culture shock in different ways, and you see some of the definitions on your screen. Heberts describes it as a sense of disorientation that comes when one enters a new culture. The Brewsters talk about it as a somewhat psychotic state that people get into when they're in a cultural situation where the cues are misleading or produce no response at all. And cultural cues, we don't realize how much we lean on them until we enter a different culture where they mean something totally different. Where your decoder ring, like we mentioned in the last lesson, the little Orphan Annie decoder ring that gives you the meaning from people's secret messages. When it doesn't work, all of a sudden, you're surprised. It's shocking. Another example or definition of culture shock is a malady, an occupational disease of people who have been suddenly transported abroad, or a mental illness which is seldom recognized by the affected. So that's important to remember, that people who have culture shock very often don't think it's culture shock. They blame it on something different. They might blame it on themselves or blame it on the culture around them. They don't realize that it's something that's very normal for someone who's gone into another culture. Finally, culture shock was defined by Luzaveta, not sure how you say that name, as a reaction to cultural jolts that is blind and unreasonable, a reaction that is subconscious flight or escape from a culturally disagreeable environment. So I'd like you to go to the two YouTube links on your Moodle site for two different clips from the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding. And I think you'll enjoy getting a little glimpse of what culture shock looks like for the older couple who are the parents of the groom in the movie. What does culture shock look like for them as they enter into this new culture?